Hey, what's up, y'all? Samari here with another special guest. This is not a networking event, but this is a conversation where, we like to know the people who come to our networking experiences, the Security Future Global Networking Experience. We like to get to know the business professionals, the entrepreneurs, the founders, the CEOs, the investors, the creators, and even the tech enthusiasts. Even if you work in corporate, we just want to hear your story. So I'm excited to be here today. We have a special guest. So introduce yourself, bro, and tell people what you do and how you bring value.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, thank you, Amari, for having me. What you're doing right now, putting this platform up and introducing people who are diverse and just from different backgrounds, that's awesome. Like kudos to you. I know it takes a lot of work to plan these type of things, and being a planner is a really good skill to have. So I'm Sammy. I'm a PharmD and I have a master's in science in clinical research. I'm currently based in Miami, Florida. I'm originally from the Northeast, more specifically Connecticut. Over the past few years, I've worked in a particular industry, a particular part of the pharmaceutical industry called medical affairs, and we're focused on strategic planning, scientific communications, and evidence generation. The last few the last few months, I've taken some time off to work on other projects that I've been interested in, but I'm going back into working with various pharmaceutical companies and doing like consulting work. But in essence, what I do is I lead various types of initiatives. Like I develop um, materials for our field team, which is like your medical science liaisons, your sales reps. I also plan Congress booths, symposias with big influential speakers, healthcare providers. They're formerly known as like key opinion leaders. And I've also worked on scientific communication, so like the publications, the abstracts of studies to get drugs approved. And these are a few things I different do, but I've developed the talent of turning complex clinical data into basically strategies to align with pharma's goals. And so that's essentially what I do. And yeah, happy to be with you.
Yeah, no, so that's dope. And what's funny is that the first event that you went to, I interviewed my friend who was a holistic enthusiast. So it's good to see. The beauty of our community is that we love to learn from different sides of the people from different sides of the spectrum, even if you're in the same industry per se. And so it's just interesting to hear. You talk about big pharma. At the time she was talking about holistic, the holistic avenue and her journey through that. And I think it's just good to educate people on just all sides of what's going on in the world and provide people with information so they can definitely be educated on the topic from different angles, different perspectives, different avenues. So that's dope. But what got you into this practice, into this industry?
Yeah, well, first I wanted to say, that was really interesting. Back at the network event, and I totally have a respect for holistic medicine. It's just, sometimes like it really depends on, when you're dealing with a patient and what their illness they have, and I'm a firm believer of taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually as well. And I know pharma has a bad rap. And my job in the pharmaceutical industry is actually to turn around that reputation, because in medical affairs, we're actually advocating on the patient-centric perspective. And that means in medical affairs, we're communicating and generating evidence that will help evidence for a drug to help healthcare practitioners and other what are called external stakeholders like payers, policymakers, and patient advocacy organizations, how to best use. We provide them information to make informed decision making of using drugs to benefit the patient. So, yeah, so to that point, I really respect her field. I know we're on the opposite sides. But what got me into the field of pharmacy is so my so what's funny is that when I first went into undergrad, I actually went to the University of Massachusetts first, and I actually wanted to be a sports management major because I love sports and I love how it brings people together, and I'm a very competitive person. And I realized, I had like, I want to say my parents were always on me on my case. Like they were like unsure if like this is a really stable career. So they were always like pushing me to go to like the med school route and all, typical, brown parents, like, they try to like push you to go into become like a healthcare, like a highly touted field of professionals. And I knew that pharma was a way that you could combine business with being a healthcare professional and the science too. So I eventually transferred to University of Connecticut, and then I went to I became a pharmaceutical science major. And from there, I knew I wanted to become a pharmacist because I wanted to be able to work and understand the patient side of the healthcare system, because pharmacists are like the gatekeepers of your healthcare community. I mean, like they're really accessible, especially like at retail pharmacies, to ask them questions. They're also able to navigate through all types of information out there and provide you like an unbiased opinion. And that's what pharmacy school gave me, like the tools to understand that. Like, the the stress of going through pharmacy school, the classes, the teachers, like they all prepare you and try to mold you into someone that they know is prepared to be out in the real world, that will help patients, and you take an oath to serve the community.
So in your journey, and that's amazing. In your journey from, I guess from where you started to where you are now, what have been some of the pros that you encountered, with in the pharmaceutical industry? And then also, I mean, what are some of the cons or some of the things that you think that could be improved in the pharmaceutical industry based off what you've experienced and what you've seen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So regarding to the pharmaceutical industry, it's very it's changing based on, like, I want to say that the pharmaceutical industry is very conservative because it tends to follow what's occurring outside usually. Like for instance, COVID. When COVID happened, a lot of things changed. Everything became remote, and a lot of pharmaceutical companies were really hesitant at first, and then they became remote. So they've always followed what's going outside. And I feel like they need to take like a more proactive approach when dealing headstrong with new market disruptors. For example, AI is coming into place, and we have to be using it as a partner and utilize it as a resource instead of looking at it as like a barrier, because it's all going to hit us and affect us in all types of ways. And I know that you talk about AI too, I'm glad you're on the bandwagon for that. But that's one of the challenges. Another challenge is that, I mean, I've always wanted to be, this is like more of a personal challenge. I've always wanted to be a pharmaceutical sales rep, but but every hiring manager, whenever they spoke to me, they always thought that I was overqualified. When you're dealing with pharmaceutical sales reps, they're usually like a pretty, young, attractive person, that pops into the, doctor's office and is trying to sell like, a drug to the doctor. And I don't know. I mean, it's always been a barrier for me to, get get to that that sales rep position, because I know I'd be a good seller, you know. I think I'd be a great seller because I have the ability to connect with people and also develop relationships.
Right.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Just a quick interruption in this video. What I want to say is, I want to say that this video is brought to you by Sway Markets and Sway Funded. Um, what I would say is that if you are in the trading space, you're looking for a foreign exchange broker, we feel as if, in our opinion, we feel as if Sway Markets is a #1 broker in the world that's licensed and regulated. So if you're somebody looking to access the foreign exchange market, if you're somebody looking to access the crypto markets on a trading aspect, then what you want to do is you want to create your free account down below in the comments with Sway Markets, the #1 licensed and regulated broker out there. There's also affiliate programs attached to the program, but we like, in this era when foreign exchange is the wild, wild west, we like stability, we like comfort, and we like to know that we're in business with a long-term foreign exchange broker. Also, you can sign up with Sway Funded, where you can access a lot of money for a little bit of an investment. You can leverage other people's money in order to trade in the foreign exchange markets once you pass the challenges, guys. So this episode is brought to you by Sway Markets and Sway Funded. Sign up and create your free account below.
And so speaking of AI, is AI something that you guys are heavily looking at when it comes to, you know, the pharmaceutical industry? Because I know it's a lot of old school things, and it's very old school. It's very, you know, when you come into a pharmacy, you want to talk to the person, you want to get a diagnosis from the doctor, and there's a relationship, and the doctor knows you. And the doctor, like, I've been going to the same like doctor, for example, for like the last like 15 to 20 years, Dr. Hidalgo. And like it's like a family member at this point. You know, is that something that you guys are concerned about, or is it?
Well, tell me more about what you're concerned about with regards to that when you go into like a pharmacy and you're are you more concerned about like is there more chance for like an error or something, or are you scared, are you like nervous that it might replace like the human touch, or what do you I'd love to learn, I'd love to know like what you're concerned about so I could understand it more.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not too much of a concern.
Hmm.
Um, I just want to know the effects. Like for me, like I'm not huge into the pharmaceutical world.
Yeah.
But I understand that, you know, we need doctors. You know, we need people to call on and rely on when things aren't going right and we don't have the proper information in order to properly deduce the
Right.
situation that we're in. You know,
Yeah.
but for me, there's, you know, I believe totally in artificial intelligence, and I believe that it's here. I believe that it's happening. If you look at like what just happened with, do you know who the longshoremen are?
No.
So the ILA, right, the International Longshoremen Association, pretty much what just happened a few weeks ago is that, and this is not the same industry but the same concept. Pretty much what happened a few weeks ago is that the longshoremen, the people who take the equipment off of the boat, right, that comes from overseas, the imports from external places, they take it off the boat and they put it onto the shores of the Americas, right? And there
Hmm.
were about 14 ports that pretty much went on strike because they felt as if
Oh yeah.
they felt as if they weren't getting paid enough, right? 45,000 longshoremen's workers.
Yeah.
If they went on strike because they wanted a higher percentage of whatever was happening. And also they wanted to make sure that AI wasn't taking over their jobs, because really and truly, there's some places in the world where the borders and the shipment containers, like in Asia or different places, where those things are fully automated, where you don't have humans necessarily on the docks. You had them controlling the docks from a vantage point.
Yeah.
And now what happens is, if they would have went on strike for a long enough period, that would have affected all of America. Why?
Yeah.
Because very simple. If you can't get any imports, um, then how can businesses sell things? How can we get goods? The value of a good will be higher, which, because there'll be less of it, which means that the prices of the goods will go higher. And if companies can't sell things, we can't buy things. which means that people can't get paid by the companies when things
Yeah.
are purchased, and it just becomes a whole thing. And AI was a big part of it because they don't want to get replaced by AI, which it'll inevitably happen over time. Things happen, right? You go from walking to having carriages, horses, to having
Yeah.
to having
Right.
cars, and having
Yeah.
planes, and then having trains, and now it's like you can get here and there in a matter of a shorter
Yeah.
amount of time. And so there is a level in the pharmaceutical industry that relies on that person to person experience. Like,
Yeah. I
what if,
agree.
what if I go to the doctor and it's like I'm talking to like an AI or like a robot.
Like
I
a
mean,
chatbot. Yeah.
bro, you just seen what happened with Elon Musk and robots. Like
Yeah.
iRobot was only 20 years ago. That was in 2004. Like, and we have robots now, literally. We just saw it.
Yeah.
And so I think everything that we see that's put out there is kind of like a precursor to what's to
Yeah.
come to get us ready. But do you think that the AI industry will have a positive effect or a negative effect when it comes to the
Yeah.
pharmaceutical side?
I'm positive that's gonna have a positive effect. It's funny how I said that, but because these conversations are actually included in the on these conversations are already occurring. It's just we don't hear about it often. It's not going to be displayed social media. It's going to be displayed in like very um it's going to be it's being discussed in really
Like
respected meetings that
boardrooms,
close
private
doors.
meetings. Yeah.
Closed doors that you don't hear about, that you won't hear about because we try to keep it very confidential. Especially when everything's out in the media, people are going to be scrutinizing us based on, anyone can say anything these days. And one thing that someone mentions out that, and if they have a huge platform and they're not like educated, that could become like a spiral of things. So all these discussions, they're occurring closed doors and they're occurring in all types of hotels, conferences, and meetings that we're trying to figure out how the best way to tackle this challenge or this issue. But there's a lot of different ways that AI can definitely help us improve like patient outcomes. And then at the same time, it's not going to replace like human touch because nothing can replace human touch. And we understand that. And that's something that we actually we have concluded, it's not going to replace human touch. You can't replace like meeting a person face to face. Even like meeting you face to face is so different than talking through like a screen, a monitor, because we're so different when we're face to face, and you can't replace any of that, the human interaction. So I'm sure like doctors will use it in a way to make things faster, like at a doctor's visit, like they could be able to take notes faster. I know a ton of doctors who are just like the worst handwriting ever, and they aren't the best at transcribing, and this is just an example. So helping them with like computer softwares, like the small things, it goes a long way. And also AI is able to help with diagnosing, looking at specific what I want to say are biomarkers. So they're basically measure points of uh like a disease or like a lab level. So we're able to diagnose and find in illnesses more streamlined. So I think that for recruitment of patients, to find patients to enroll into drug trials, it's going to be huge because we're trying to advance therapies, especially in the pharma industry.
So so if actually, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So the perception of the pharmaceutical industry, right? And we said it earlier, like for the most part, and I don't know if it's just true or not, but you said it earlier. You said people may not have the best opinion on the pharmaceutical industry. What do you feel when it comes to that perception? Like, why do you feel people may feel like that way? And what are some things that the pharmaceutical industry can do to kind of bring the perception back to, you know, it's not as bad as people think it is from the outside looking in or from the inside
That's
looking in?
that's a great question. I kind of spoke about that earlier, and I was referring to, so I'm from Connecticut, and there's an industry in Connecticut. There's a company in Connecticut that has created a terrible reputation for pharma, and that's Purdue Pharma. And obviously everyone's seen like the Netflix documentaries, and it's shown like the horrible side of how opioids have caused a epidemic in our healthcare community for years. And um, we're starting to recover from that. We're taking steps. The nation has been taking steps to uh, go through those consequences. And um, there's been a lot, that has been done reactively. So to that situation with the FDA. And I've been a consultant at the FDA in Silver Spring, Maryland, particularly in the drug shortages office. So it was an amazing experience because I was also around all types of regulatory professionals who have seen it in pharma, in the healthcare for, man, since like the 70s and 80s. So they understand like what the epidemic has done to the community. And I think it's amazing like what steps we've taken, especially in our states to, you know, some states have Narcan legal. Anyone can carry that around in case if they see someone overdose opioids. I think that's also the reason why I became a pharmacist, is because to advocate on behalf of the patient. But going back to your question, yeah, it's kind of such a bad rep because a few of the bad apples. And that's not to say all of the pharmaceutical companies have that reputation, because there's actually a lot of great companies that are developing therapies for patients who need these life-saving therapies. For example, in lymphoma and leukemia, like we came a long way the last 10, 20 years with different types of drugs out there that are immunological biologics. So we've actually we've advanced quite some time. And these patients at one time didn't have any life-saving therapies, and they pass away in possibly like a few months with these type of hematological cancers. So these are some of the good examples that people need to be more aware of. And I think that as a healthcare professional in the industry, in order to get that reputation, to turn around that reputation, I think we need people such as myself and other healthcare professionals who work in the industry to tell our side of the story, because we're usually the type of people who are introverted, and we're healthcare professions that have been trained in school to be very cautious about what we say to the public, because we don't want anything to follow us and tarnish our reputation, because we went through so much school to get to where we are right now, and to say one thing can be detrimental to your reputation. So anytime that we get in the platform to speak, we have to be careful with the type of words we say, how we phrase it. So that's one thing that we need: people who can be good at communicating um, what we're doing and how we're dealing with situations, is I feel like a way that we can turn around that negative perception.
No, yeah, you say that, and what's crazy is that, I believe that, you can do all these things that are good, right? You can do all these things that are
Yeah.
good. It's one thing to just mess up everything, because at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. But then also, as a society, we feed on the negative. Like the negative headline gets the attention. It's not, we've helped this person, or we've helped this person, or you know,
Scary. Yeah.
but one mistake can kind of put salt in people's mind, because people only just remember the negative things, and that's why we have to continue to try to push the envelope forward, keep people educated, and then really and truly try to do as best as we can to educate people on the things that are happening, and so they can make the best decision possible. I kind of want to take it back a little bit,
Yeah.
because COVID was a big thing, and the pharmaceutical industry was very instrumental in directing people of the world, of our country, in terms of hey, you should do this, maybe look at that. And what are your thoughts on how the entire COVID and the COVID situation happened in terms of the pharmaceutical industry, specifically when it came to how fast drugs were created in order for us to be able to fight off this COVID disease or remain healthier. The speed at which it was happening. The rate at which this whole thing was happening. What are your thoughts on that now, knowing kind of when you fast forward 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
like, all right, these things happen, these things didn't happen. We've helped this amount of people. These people decided not to participate. These people decided to participate. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
It's a great question. And anytime that question comes at me, it's like, man, well, I feel like that it affected everyone in different ways. And I will always let people know that I'm a proponent of getting a vaccination when you want to protect those who are um, more susceptible to getting sick. And getting a vaccination is actually it, it's very important to it's the what's the word? It's the theory of like herd immunity, where you want to protect the whole entire community. It only takes one person sick to get 5, 10, and then you have like an exponential um increase of people who get sick. And I think that as a person who I study, so was able to I was able to go through a master's of clinical research program, and the drug trials, they were they were definitely run faster than expected, but we needed a treatment ASAP. So I feel like there was not enough study in place. There was not enough time to study the drug in place. And it is scary. And at the end of the day, I think it should be a person's decision to take the to take to decide to take the vaccine or not, because by mandate, it's um your decision. But there are certain stipulations for if you have, if you're in a working environment, if you're in a school, you should definitely you should definitely get immunized and get that vaccination, because you're going to be surrounding yourself with people who may be immunocompromised or be able to get sick. So like our elderly population. And I know like people say all these crazy things, like they put like a chip or a tracker. I mean, I don't believe any of that's true, to be honest. I think that's a lot of paranoia that people have and especially down in the South, or I don't know. I just think it's comical sometimes. But yeah, I'm a proponent, and as a healthcare professional, we have to educate, and that's huge. Education is one thing that us healthcare professionals need to do more and use platforms such as this to tell our side of the story.
No,
And if
yeah,
you want to get more information behind like a study, then be prepared to actually look and read into the actual studies that got these drug approved, because they're all in the package insert. The package insert of a vaccination or any drug, it's it it's provided on every um drug product that is given. And so you can even go to a pharmacy and ask for that package insert. If you get that immunization, just ask the pharmacist for that package insert and they'll give it to you, because they usually throw it out every time, because it's mandated by the pharmacy companies to provide that package insert. And just to let you know, the drug industry is probably the most regulated industry out there. Not a lot of people know that. The FDA makes the FDA is really short-handed, but there are lots of guidelines and standard operating procedures to good practices to get these drug approves, and we have to follow them, or else there are a lot of consequences behind them. But ask for that package insert, and then at the bottom of the package insert, it shows you like the studies, and usually these studies are open access on the web, so you could be able to look up these studies on Google and see like what are the studies. I mean, if you have questions, then just go ask your pharmacist. So
yeah. Nah, it's good. I think the beautiful part about, so just for me, so I didn't take the vaccine, right? And one of the reasons why, because every time I got tested, um, I was negative. The first time I ever got tested, they tested me positive. I was supposed to go to an event in Hawaii. And I was like, there's no way, because I went into I went in that I hit up everybody that was around. I was like, yo, I just tested positive. Like, are you positive? Did you test? Like, and everybody around me was negative. And I said, let me go try it again. So I went in, I took like 3 tests in a span of like 72 hours. Um, and I tested negative, when I took these
so
three or
it's a
four.
false positive.
Yeah, that's what they said, and
Yeah.
so I took 3 or 4 more tests, but I think I tested like 17 times just throughout the course of, because I wasn't vaccinated. And people were around me, and everybody has their own choice, but because I wasn't vaccinated, I had to do even more due diligence of making sure I got tested regularly, making sure that, when I was around people, I was getting tested. I think I got tested in a span of like a year or so, like 17 to 20 times, and I never tested positive. Besides that first, I guess what we would call a first false positive. And so I think also, the beautiful thing about that time is, I think a lot of education, I think people were actually leaning into, ways to stay healthy, whether that was
Yeah.
taking a vaccination, whether that was going maybe the more holistic route, maybe that was, exercising more, because even a study was, coming out, like the people who were catching the disease were people who were, on the less healthy side of the spectrum, people who were obese, or maybe who had, some underlying, conditions that they may or may have not known about. And I think that even put people in a position where, hey, I got to go exercise. I got to go do my 10,000 walk, my steps a day, 5,000 steps. I got to go drink more water, man. Let me go lose this weight, because I'm really putting myself in danger. I'm putting myself on a track to be here for a less longer on the earth because of my unhealthy, decisions. And I remember my grandmother, when she got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, this is when I was like really looking at it. I was in my healthy stage. I was detoxing, constantly. And because it was at a point where I was never like crazy overweight, but you can tell I wasn't healthy, and I think, during that time in the pandemic, oh yeah, bro, it was crazy. Like you could see my face had like, a little bit, like my
We
my
all go through that
oh
phase.
yeah, bro. I wasn't like fat, but I was. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
tell, Amari, you ain't been working out, or you're not doing the
Taking
best
care of
by your
yourself,
body.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, bro. And I think the COVID time allowed us to really sit back and say, as a
Yeah.
society, we have to get healthier. And I think for me, that was one of the most encouraging parts. You know, when things are happening where, you know, it can affect your body, which can affect your health, which if something happens to you, that could probably protect that probably can, you know, affect your family. If you're a breadwinner or something happens to you, like how does your family now make money? You know, I have to make sure that I'm healthy because, you know, this is a Secure Your Future podcast, and we talk about our conversation, and we talk about, you know, the mental, physical, social, relational, you know, spiritual, financial. And so all of these things matter. And I think
Yeah.
when you're at your, when I've been at my healthiest is when I've been at my, I've thrived the most, you know, and healthy is, you know, it allows you just to be here on the earth longer, to create a better impact and build more wealth for your family, to do what God has called you to do. And so I appreciate that answer and what you said with COVID. And, I know it was hard, man, because I remember just watching and people were like, how are they going to create a drug in like 10 minutes? And I was like, in my mind, like,
Yeah,
well,
10 days of the
that is
study. Yeah.
true. But then like
Yeah.
this thing is like coming. It's like I remember seeing,
Yeah.
I remember watching the news, right? And
Right.
COVID was like, COVID was like in wherever it was, where it was
Yeah.
at. Then you see it in like Europe. And I'm like, they're not stopping people from traveling. And
Hmm.
people are coming to the US from other
I
countries.
know. Yeah.
Probably is gonna get here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember the night before, everything shut down. In
Yeah.
the US, you know, everything shut down in the US when Rudy Gobert. Remember Rudy Gobert?
Yeah. 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 The
He was like
basketball
messing
player.
around with the mics and stuff, and like mimicking like the code, and then he ended up getting it. And then and when the NBA shut down, like
Oh,
everything
yeah, I totally forgot
else
that.
shut
Yeah,
down.
yeah. And
It,
then like the NBA players were talking. Yeah, they got mad at him. And
yeah, bro, and it was crazy
that's
because
so funny how we followed that event. And then it started to spur that conversation, even more deeper conversations into, how the
yeah,
media
because
plays a huge.
bro, 100%. But even from a perspective of just like if you're a professional athlete, people would you would think that you're the most healthiest, you have the most.
Isn't it funny that it was a French person? Yeah, like from France.
Right,
Probably
right.
blamed it. They probably blamed it because he was from France and
A hundred
you know.
percent, bro. And I played basketball growing up. Like I played college
Yeah.
basketball. So I followed the NBA, and
Yeah,
when it
me
happened,
too. Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, the NBA, everything's gonna shut down. And I remember,
Yeah. That's the only sport we had also, like at the time. The summer league, I think it was like yeah, that was
yeah,
the only sport that we had. So that was the only thing we could watch.
bro, it was crazy. And then I remember the night before, I was out at a function. I was out at my friend's event.
Right.
A lot of people, and I'm just like, yo, this is. I'm like, COVID is probably gonna come here. They're not like they're not stopping people from traveling, and people travel globally, so it's like
Yeah.
it's inevitable. And I remember the day it shut down, I was like, oh yeah, it's over. And then everything went to lockdown. It was like March 18th to like March 20th of like
Oh
2000.
yeah.
I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a good time, or it was not to say it was a good time, but it was an interesting time. It was a very educational time. And I think
Yeah.
people really dove into their health, when it came to COVID, because it was like, listen, this is all you have. And when your time is dwindling down, it's like you don't like money doesn't matter, like what kind of car
Yeah.
you have doesn't
I
matter.
know.
Like your wealth doesn't really matter. It's like, can I stay healthy and can I get more time? And can I be around people that love me and that I love? So yeah, man, that's an interesting perspective. Is COVID like one of the craziest times, like I guess in our lifetime, in terms of just like something that has just in terms of like
I think it's gonna impact us more. You just you mentioned this, but mentally too. And I think that's like a whole nother ball game because we're only seeing like the mental like side effects of that situation because I mean we missed like 2 years of our life like dating, going out, especially for our generation. So it's like it made it, well, we're now more digitized, like we're like can use like social media platforms, but out in the open, like, it's so different now, because we missed 2 years of being out there and socializing, right?
Yeah, people got more comfortable with being behind the computer as well. And I
Yeah.
remember Zoom stock went through the roof because people, you were forced to do things on Zoom.
Should
And
have got some Zoom stock.
man, I'm telling you, bro, I remember Carnival Cruise Line, like all the cruise lines went down to like dollars. And I'm like, yo, in like 3 years, because there's no way cruises are going to, and we live in Miami, so it's like we see
Right.
all the time. There's no way cruises are gonna like just
Yeah,
go. It's too big of an industry. People love
it
the trip.
is. It's huge over here.
I was like, man, in 2 or 3 years, bro, these stocks are gonna be worth three,
Yeah.
4, 10 times more, and they are. They went right
Yeah.
back up, and that's what usually happens. And when you talk about securing your future, one of the ways is even like building wealth, and it's like I think when when tragic things happen, it is also the best part about tragedy is that there's an opportunity there, and
Yeah.
things go down, there's an opportunity to buy and invest. And, I think that's another thing we can always talk about and always be, you know, informant. And that's why you have to be ready also, like, have some cash on hand, have some money to invest, because when an opportunity like that happens, it's like, yo, that rarely
Yeah.
ever happens. Like it may happen
Yeah.
once, if that, maybe twice in your lifetime. And it's like a lot
Yeah.
of people benefited from, that catastrophe on a monetary way. When you watch the movie, have you seen the movie The Big Short?
Yeah.
During the 2008
Yep.
financial crisis, when the guy,
Hmm.
like, man, like it was like they
Yeah.
made billions of dollars, but it's like they were also emotionally drained because they knew that although they were gonna make money because they saw what was happening,
Yeah.
a lot of people were gonna be affected in a negative way. And it was like
Yeah.
it's like kind of like this same thing,
Yeah.
15 years, 12, 15 years later. So very interesting time. What is your speaking of, I guess it's kind of transition into the I guess the financial side. If somebody wanted to do like what you're doing, like what is the most amount of money, I guess, that somebody in your industry can make, being a pharmaceutical professional like you are?
Yeah. Well, specific roles have like caps to what the salaries are based on, the market. I mean, it always changes. The market changes based on the economy, how it's doing. And but I feel like it's more about like the potential of where you can go more so, because no one in pharma likes to be complacent. And if they do, then it's not the right industry, because you need to have that growth mindset and be innovative. And that's really my 2 cents, but I feel like that you'll have opportunities to not just stay in one lane in pharma, but I feel like you're able to also dabble into other types of projects, because in pharma you have transferable skills that you're able to use from that corporate environment to other areas of businesses too. So we have to understand that. And I also think that being a pharmacist, going through professional development courses and mentorship through faculties, it's given me insights on how I could prepare myself for other type of industries that I want to go to. So I mean, the the potential is pretty much up to the person, you know? It really I feel like in pharma, like, yeah, you'll make like X amount, but that's really highly dependent upon, your drive and what your goals are. So
What is like a number? Like what's the average? Like what's so so it can,
yeah,
people are
there's
swayed by money.
I mean, it's very corporate chain level, and it depends on various like it depends on on the size of the company, the type of company, the therapeutic area. So it's hard to put a number on it, basically. So that's why I can't give you like an actual number.
Can you give us like a range? Can you give us like the entry level person would make, $20,000, or the second.
Oh, well, it really depends on what area, what role, what functional area. Because if you're sales, then you're commission based. If you're field, you'll get higher base salary, and then you'll get a bonus on top of that. So there's so many different factors that go into each like amount. So that's that's essentially how I would phrase it because it's the truth.
So for example, like when I tell people, all right, if you want to do this, and it's gonna take. Well, let me ask you this question: how much money does it cost? Or like, do you need a college degree to get into the field that you're in specifically, or do you need to go to school for a certain amount of time? Do you need to be? Because I know a lot of people who are in maybe not pharma, I guess maybe pharma, but that are in like medical sales, and it's like you don't really need a college
Yeah.
degree. But do you need a college degree? Do you need a level of certification? Do you need a level of certification in terms of schooling and getting certified in order to be a part of your industry?
Well, sales, you could have a bachelor's or possibly even like an associate degree too. I think sales is probably like the easiest. I don't want to say easiest, but I mean, like the least stringent requirements to get in a role, or like maybe like operations type of role. But for my area, medical affairs, you require a terminal degree. And so you need a doctor of some type. So either a PhD or a MD or a PharmD to be required. That's like the basic requirements for these type of roles where I am. So if you don't have one, then your application is thrown out.
Wait, so I didn't even know we're talking to a doctor right now. You have a,
Yeah.
yo, this is incredible. And what's crazy is honestly, I'm so like when we host our networking experiences, it feels to me, from my point of view,
Yeah.
it's different for somebody, but like we're trying to build a family. So like a lot of times when we're just having conversations and we're just hanging out and we're networking and people are on stage talking, it's like, you know, it's as I feel like I like when you're familiar with somebody, it's like,
Yeah.
really like we respect everybody, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like my parents, like for example, like
Yeah.
they go to school, like they're doing big things, and it's like, but they're my parents.
Yeah. We're
It's
just
like
regular
I'm talking
people.
to a doctor, like this is amazing. Like you have a PhD, and I know how hard it is.
PharmD.
PharmD, what's the difference?
So it's a doctorate of pharmacy. It's a very diverse degree where you could actually work in a pharmacy like at CVS or Walgreens or even a hospital pharmacy, and you have the capability of dispensing the drug because there are lots of stringent guidelines and regulations that the nation has placed because it's such a huge um responsibility. But then you can also go into like pharma or do other types of works. But yeah.
How long does it take to get to your level of certification? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
So it takes 4 years to complete a pharmacy. It's almost like a medical school program.
And is it
3
separate?
years didactic, 1 year experiential.
And do you have to go to a traditional college first and then go into that field, or does it go right into that?
You usually have to go to traditional college first.
So you spend what, 4 years in college, and then you have to
Yeah.
get.
Or you could shortcut and take 2 year, go to like a 2 year undergrad and then 4 years. But usually I've seen most of the folks that, all my colleagues are all like bachelors and then went to their PharmD right after.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, that level of schooling creates a level of discipline. It's like one of my
It
friends,
is. Yeah.
bro, one of my guys I play basketball with, we call him Doc. He's a doctor. He's a intestines doctor.
Yeah. Gastrointestinal. Yeah.
Gastro doctor, stomach
Gastrointestinal.
doctor. And he's like, man, I'm like, bro, how much school did you like go through? He's like, man, you wouldn't even believe it. Because honestly, you're dealing with people's lives. And I
Yeah.
would rather, and I tell people, because I went to college, but I went to college to play basketball. People ask me, Amari, what did you major in? I majored in sports. I majored in basketball. Obviously, I have my business degree. I did some master stuff for a year or so in kinesiology. But it's like I commend people who go to school for that period of time to become doctors, become lawyers, and become in PharmD and in those industries, because you need that. You want people to be well educated. When you're dealing with lives and
Have the right values too.
yeah, man.
Because the
Exactly.
values are most important because, there are some people, like I said, there are some bad apples out there that, that you hear about in the news and you're like, wow, that person must have been on something because if he did that, because I mean, there are those stories where some people have tainted drugs and dispensed them. I mean, I don't want to talk about that, but it's a whole nother like episode. But you're right. I appreciate what you said is that, at the end of the day, it's always a good reminder to have because we're people too. We deal with stress too. And I feel like where I was where I was raised in Connecticut, I always like to respect people the way that they like to be respected. So I'm glad you're able to like just treat me just as, how I like to be treated. That's basically what all I ask for, when I meet people in public. So
No, 100%. And I think it's just a level of respect because, a lot of times I do have my own values, my own, opinions, but I also like to, respect people in their point of view. And I think one of the best things that anybody can do in the world or when you're having conversations is, you know, try to understand the other perspective, try to understand the other side, try to understand somebody else's point of view, right? And it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to agree with everything that they say, but everybody has their own perspective based off what they go through in life. Everybody has their own perspective based off of their own experience and how their life has been shaped, formed, and I think when we're creating environments where hey, you do this way, you do this that way, but there's still a happy medium where we can be empathetic, but then also understand that person's perspective. It creates for a better community, and that's what we're doing here. And that's why we even host the networking experiences because
yeah,
you said it earlier. We want to create an environment where we're diverse, we're multicultural, we're multi-ethnic, we're multi-situational, we're multi, we want to be inclusive, which means that we
yeah,
invite as many people inside the spectrum. But once you come into the spectrum, these are our values. We want to focus on these 7 areas. We want to, create this type of culture. So people feel comfortable being themselves while also kind of adapting, to the culture that we try to provide. And I think culture is everything. And you even said it, the pandemic caused for a lot of us to, a lot of the world to be really comfortable behind a computer screen. And we wanted to bring that personal touch back to, you know, um, to our community while also still doing things like this and leveraging social media. Obviously, we want to do that, but we also want to be able to look somebody in the eye, shake a hand, really be personable. And I was making this joke at another event a couple weeks ago, and I was in Fort Lauderdale, and I was like, man, one of the reasons why I like host these things or like we host these things is because I anytime that I've ever like tried to talk to a girl or like I've ever dealt with a female or you know it's like the in person is always better.
right. I agree.
And it's
I
like, it's just different when you can feel the
yeah,
energy or not feel the energy or look somebody in their eye. And, one of my coach always said growing up, he was like, man, if somebody in my ninth and 10th grade coach, Mark Lieberman, shout out to Mark Lieberman. He said, man, when I shake somebody's hand, if they don't look me in their eye, they can't come here.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like little
Yeah,
things like that, that we still need to maybe not practice every day, but we need to have that in our armor. Like we need to have it as a tool that we can use. So when we're in person, we know how to, react,
perfectly
we know how to
said.
speak, we know how to adapt to different environments. And so it's
Develop that trust too. I feel like that trust is huge, especially after COVID, being behind the cameras and seeing that person like one on one, it's humongous. And I think you said that beautifully, honestly. from, meeting people. I mean, just being behind closed doors, and then also looking at someone in the eye, because like when I do meet people outside of my apartment, and they don't look me in the eye, or they just don't acknowledge me, it's just like you kind of lose respect, just from that credibility. I mean, I want to say first impressions do make, it is important,
Very important.
I'm not gonna lie.
Very important. And what's funny is that like sometimes like on the event thing, we put you talk about first impressions. What's the dress code? We don't really have a dress code.
Right.
I always put I
I
always put
didn't know that.
I always put dress how you want to be perceived.
Oh, that's actually cool. That's nice.
Because I mean, it's a business environment. It literally says the business and entrepreneurship networking. So
Yeah.
it's a business and entrepreneurship where business may be done. It's a certain caliber of people. Like dress how you want to be perceived. And if you're not, maybe you don't have a suit on, that's cool. If you do, that's cool. I used to have a guy, my guy, Jack. He used to come on the boat events with a suit, full blown suit, but that was how he wanted to be perceived.
Yeah.
Me, I may wear a collar shirt, but I may not, But if you're not, I guess, the most well dressed, what you also want to do is you want to be able to articulate yourself in a way that is conducive
Yeah.
to how you're trying to perceive. It's not just how you dress, it's also how you are articulating yourselves, how are you presenting yourself, how are you moving in a room with different caliber of people, how are you interacting with people, how are you carrying yourself, how are you conversing, are you listening, are you asking questions, are you trying to bring value to the room. And
Yeah.
all of those things matter. So when I say come dressed as you want to be perceived, it's not just about what you're wearing. It's about who you're becoming, who you are, and how you interact.
That's so funny because like well, sorry, I did not read that part, but now I understand it more. And I remember I came in with a really sharp look, and to me, because like the last few years, I go to all these like industry and pharma conferences where you have to look like a sharp person. So like I wasn't even thinking about that. And when I stepped in, and like I saw different types of people, different types of clothing styles, which I'm cool with, because I like to relate with all types of people and meet all type, and I love diversity, to be honest. I think that there does come like a little bit of judgment, but that's okay. Like, and how you explained it and articulated it is like is what I understand now. And I think that's awesome, because that's, who they are and how they're able to communicate their value. I think that's important too. And that's something that you're teaching along to people, as part of this community, which I think is really fascinating and cool too. And it's inspiring, so that's a good message to show like future incoming members that want to join.
No, 100%. And you hit it on the head. I think the thing that we're trying to do is, we are aiming to create an environment where people are comfortable with being themselves. Um, and we don't want to limit you to what we don't want to. We want to create an environment where it's like a hybrid. Like it's not a party,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's not like a suit and tie conference. We want to catch
Yeah.
people where they're at their most comfortable, where they're at
Comfortable,
their most
right.
vulnerable. So we can create those real relations. Because I do believe that sometimes when I mean, some of the events I wear collar shirts, I wear button down. It depends on how I'm
Yeah.
feeling. But
How I feel.
most times I'm probably gonna wear a hat. I'm probably gonna
The
wear.
weather too. Like if it's like hot, like you're
Yeah,
not
it's like that too. It's like and
sweating, like with the suit
bro,
on. Like, oh my God, I hate that.
it's crazy. And I also think that sometimes when people overdress,
Yeah.
and this is my opinion, sometimes when people overdress, it's and not everybody, but sometimes when people overdress, it's like it's like you're hiding your insecurities by
Mm,
trying to look like something, which is okay. But then when the words that come out of your mouth don't match how you're trying to represent yourself, then people can just see the insecurities. Like when you came and you were more dressed than most, but when you speak and when you articulate yourself, it matches what you're portraying. And that's okay, you know? So you don't have to always. And I was watching a video where this guy was talking about how he was saying what I'm saying now. And he's like, you know, when the best way to raise capital is when you're at your most comfortable. You don't have to wear a suit, tie, jacket. No, because if what you're saying doesn't match what you're portraying, then that's just going to be an automatic no. But if you come into the room comfortable, if you come into the room with your authentic self, and you come up with I'm not saying, you know, wear, you know, gym shorts and a t-shirt, but you know, when you're comfortable and when you really
Yeah.
picture and give a vision of what you're trying to accomplish and what the mission behind it is, and you know, the ROI and all of these things, when you're articulate in that, that sometimes is a lot of times is more important than what you look like. Because a lot of times at the end
Yeah.
of the day, people want to know who you are, like where you came from, what you're doing, and where you're going based off of what you're doing, right? And they want to see the vision of where you're going. You know, a lot of people, I mean, what you look know somebody on a certain level, it's like what you look like at the end of the day doesn't really matter when you
Doesn't-
know who you are. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
And,
100%.
and that's what we're trying to. That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to, you know, get across to people. Look, you don't have to be sloppy, but
Yeah.
you don't have to go get the $5,000 suit if that's not something that you don't have to do that. But you do have to be able to articulate how you bring value, what you do in a short amount of time, and that's also why we do like the
Yeah.
do it as much while you were there, but the speed networking, right?
Yeah.
Where you know, hey, put 3 minutes on your phone, 2 minutes on your phone, and you know, we want you to be able to connect with these different individuals in a way that is concise, that is, you know, to the point, and that paints a picture and a vision of where you're going, while also you doing the same thing and listening to the next person. And I think that's also important, you know. So I mean, we can go on a tangent all day
Yeah. Yeah.
about this stuff, but man, I just want to say thank you, man, for hopping on. Bro,
Of course.
you're amazing. You're crushing it. The insight on the pharma side of things was amazing. I love, you know, everything that you're doing. Definitely gonna put this out. I'm gonna send you these clips. But I have one more question for you. You know, when you hear the word or the phrase "secure your future," you know, what does that particularly mean to you?
Yeah, to secure your future, I feel that, it's not limiting yourself to a potential. I think when you want to secure your future, I think the best thing that you can do is taking small steps every day to getting to where you want to be, and it's setting goals. I mean, the fundamentals are so important. Like I can't even tell you, like writing in a notebook, talking with people, building relationships. When you want to secure your future, you have to be able to break things down and achieve goals. And that's all I have to say. As everyone is so different. Like we need to, I feel like, as an individual, like who's already gone through various types of experiences, I've always had to lean on my just foundations. And that those are some of the things that I feel like that have brought me to where I am today. And I'm still growing. And so that growth doesn't stop here. So securing your future is just being able, everyone's on their life, everyone is in a stage of their life that, we want to just become better every day. And that's, to me, the most important thing is, how do I look at tomorrow to get to where I am to my next goal in life?
Well, there you go. So I appreciate you, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and I'm excited. So thank you very much. Appreciate you, brother.
Of course, man, Amari. It's a pleasure talking with you. What are you up to right now? Like, what's your day looking like? You got a few more interviews?
No, this is my only interview for the day, and
Okay.
right now I
You
think
already finished the past few days?
what'd you say?
Did you already finish some the past few days? with
No, so actually, and we can keep this going really quick. I just
yeah,
said,
yeah,
I started to do this way some time ago, and I got more into doing it at the events where I will post it on Instagram. And
yeah,
at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to do a few things, right? Number one, we're trying to create an environment where people can network, connect, collaborate
yeah,
while we're creating community, in the business, professional, and entrepreneurship space, whether you're a founder, CEO, investor, creator, creative, or tech enthusiast, or corporate, corporate employee or individual, or you work for, or you are a corporation, whatever that looks like, business owner. And
yeah.
but within that, we're doing it in a way where we're building our audience, right? Building our community. And so if you notice, all the events that we ever do are free because we want to collect your name, number, and email. And then once you collect your name, number, and email in a free RSVP, what's happening is that, now we are going to put you in our CRM, right? Our newsletter. Our newsletter is at about 4,350 right now, 340 over the past year and a half. And so it's a slow build because we
Yeah.
are doing it in person. We're not really pushing the online part per se, but in that,
No, you're in like in a phase of like what's gonna be like the bigger picture, right?
yeah. And I want to do it. I want to have this portion of it because every name, number, and email that we collect is a real name, number, and email. It's not like somebody just putting in a regular email online because they want to get a free ebook. No, but also what's happening is that we're starting to transition into things like this. We want to give more value to our audience that we're building, who sign up for the events. And how we're doing that is we're just people who come to the experiences. We'll meet them, talk to them, and then it's like, hey, you want to do an interview? Because we want to bring value to our audience, because we do have
Yeah.
7 pillars. It's mental. We want to help people bridge the gap from where they are to where they're going
Yeah.
in these 7 areas: mentally, physically, emotionally, socially, relationally, financially, and spiritually. So we can provide value in one of those 7 areas through our organization. We can do that. And one of the ways, one of the outlets, the branches are, podcasting like this, or having episodes like this where, we bring in a quote unquote expert or somebody who's very credible in their space, and give us some information and give us some value and see how they're secure in their future, talk about their industry, talk about, where they're going, where they're headed, what they're doing. And then what that does is it creates a deeper relationship with our audience. So it's not, oh, you come to this event, network, and leave. No, you come to this event, network, and then expect a podcast episode from somebody in the organization. So that brings value. And then what we do on the backside of that is,
Awesome idea.
yeah. So now what I'm going to do with this is, we're going to break this, we're going to put it out, and then we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down into short clips. So
Right.
now, based on what you were talking about, the AI algorithm is going to then show us what are the best clips to post. We're going to post that on
Wow.
our YouTube, on our TikTok, on our LinkedIn. So now those platforms are being reached with our audience, and now we can reach a wider audience. We can now put out content that is now documenting the process of what we're doing. And then on the back end of that, it's like now we're showing people not only how to host events online, because this right now is an event, believe it or not. This is an event,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
This is an event that thousands of people are going to see, hundreds of people are going to see, hopefully hundreds of thousands and even millions eventually are going to see. And so now we're showing you how to build your audience online. We're showing you how to build your audience offline through events, online through an event, through Zoom podcasting, through posting the clips on social media. But then also what happens is now this is a way to show people how to build their audience. So now it's like, hey, look, if this goes viral on Instagram, we now have a way we use automation to create, content that now has a call to action. And then another AI is going to send you, let's say we say comment the word secure to go into our university. So this video will go into our university, right? As a podcast, as an episode that people can learn from, right? People can watch. It's like a vault. And then from there, let's say we take this short clips, we post it on Instagram, right? And now we have a call to action. And then that call to action creates an automation. What if it goes viral? You have 500 comments. We can't answer all the DMs, all the
Who's
comments.
your target like group of people that you like age group that you usually target with these type of videos? Is it like 20, like younger 20s or
It's
18?
not a target audience. It's like, so our it's not that we're targeting an audience. We're creating
Mm-hmm.
content that is attracting the audience, and through the attraction of the audience, we now see who we target. So it's like anywhere from 25 to like 45. That is
Mm-hmm.
like our target audience. Maybe like
Yeah.
55%.
I mean, I'm sure there's like so many kids, like, so there's even more kids on social media these days that will look at anything that's like that has like a highlight or like a catch to it. So I think that's cool.
No, 100%. And so, we're just building out an ecosystem. And so now
Yeah.
we have this as a leg. Then we have the networking event as like the main leg. Then we have
Yeah.
the short form content. And now we have the what was I gonna say? We have now we have a university where you,
Yeah.
you can now be a part of it. And this stuff is all free. You can learn from the university. And now we also have then
Where do you eventually want to go though with it? Like, do you want to get like a subscriber like base type of program or like where
yeah, we'll
or
get a
like
subscriber
something like
base.
does like a mentorship or something or you
So
know?
what we'll do is we're going to create a university. So one part of the university is free. It's the crypto and foreign exchange platform. So we are associated with an organization called or a platform called Sway that's licensed and regulated. Sway Markets, where you can access the foreign exchange market. With our platform, it's free to use. Licensed and regulated through the ASIC, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission.
Yeah.
And that licensing gives us a little bit of credibility, although, we never say anything is guaranteed, anything is perfect, but it just provides another layer of protection in
Yeah.
this Wild West game of the foreign exchange and crypto industry. So that we have a university that is geared towards that, or an academy that's geared towards that. And then we'll build out the other portions of the academy where, it'll be a paid membership, smaller paid, low ticket membership, $50 a month, $27 a month, where you can have access to, all of these interviews. You can have access to courses that's going to help you, you know, build as a business professional or entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like we'll have a tax portion. We'll have a how to build your LLC portion. We'll have I'm sure we'll have a health portion, or we'll have all of these things, an event portion where we're teaching you how to host your own events, how to build your audience. And then also one of the things that we do, we actually just acquired our first a big client when it comes to handling their backends. So we just got our first big client where we're going to handle all their backends. We're going to build their community out for them. We're going to handle their automation. So all they have to do is promote.
Wow.
And now they can build
Awesome.
an audience online, because I do believe in today's society that we have to digitize our knowledge.
Yeah. You found a good market to fill in the unmet need, you know?
Yeah,
That's the
man.
way I look at it, because that's what we do in pharma is like, where there's a need, you have to basically be the one to get on top of it right now. Um, so I know everyone does everything for a reason, and that's just like pharma. And I think it's really cool that you're doing that. It takes a lot of work, and there's obviously there's not a lot of people doing what you're doing. So you have to have a vision.
No.
That's why I'm only asking, because like not a lot of people think like that way.
So I believe that you can do so. I live on three principles, right? I believe that you can pay your way in any room, you can earn your way to any room, but the most important thing is you can serve your way in any room. And so I believe in giving the most amount of value on the front end. So then on the back end, when you do ask for something, when you do say,
Yeah.
hey, we have a course, hey, we have a university, hey, we have this, that, you provided so much value on the front end. It's like, if they gave us all this free value, then I wonder what's over
Yeah.
here, paid version,
Yeah.
and so that's my way of serving on the front end. And then, we have live events that people can pay for or whatnot. And, so I just believe in providing value, man. I've been so blessed to be in rooms, to be in, man, with billionaires and millionaires, and be in rooms with people that are just starting that, I didn't have to pay for, but I had to serve my way.
Yeah.
And so the best form of leadership is servant leadership. And once we
I
really
agree. Yeah.
understand that, we could become a better society. You know, in the Bible, it just talk. I don't know what you believe in, but in the Bible, it talks about, the best form of leadership is servant leadership, and those who are first shall remain last, and those who are last shall remain first. So, if I'm putting people first, then I'm gonna get what's due to me, on the back end. And I've been blessed to be given second and third and fourth and fifth and seventh chances, man. I've been blessed to, have another crack at it, or, build another relationship or host another event, where it's like it's my duty to give back to the community that's being built.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it was great talking with you, and thank you. Let me know how it goes, and if you need me to look at anything over.
All right, appreciate you. I'm gonna send you these clips, and yeah, man.
All right. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, appreciate you, brother.
See you later, man.